This story is very meaningful. Everyone should hear it. Listen to Brian tell the story. I stood halfway down the aisle, my white gown trailing behind me like a ghost of the life I'd dreamed of, when my sister Rachel stepped forward, her maid of honor dress trembling with her rehearsed courage. The ballroom of my hotel, my haven, my empire, hummed with the gasps of 300 guests. Chandeliers glittered above, casting fractured light across their stunned faces. Ethan, my fiancé, waited at the altar, his eyes wide with fake shock, his custom suit pristine as ever. Then Rachel's voice cut through the air, sharp and deliberate, like a knife she'd been sharpening for months. "I'm sorry, Grace," she said, loud enough for the flawless acoustics to carry it to every corner. "I can't let this go on. Ethan and I are in love. I'm carrying his child." The room erupted. Whispers, gasps, a few choked sobs from the front row. My heart didn't just break. It shattered, the pieces grinding into dust under the weight of her words. I'd raised her, poured 20 years of my life into her, and now she stood there, her brown eyes glinting with triumph, her lips curled in a way I'd never seen before. Ethan moved toward me, his face a mask of regret, but I could see the flicker of satisfaction beneath it. They'd planned this, every word, every tear, to destroy me in front of everyone I knew, my employees, my friends, my world, but they didn't know I'd already seen the truth, their truth, and I was ready. I raised a hand, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "No, Ethan," I said, cutting him off before he could spew more lies. "Let me make the announcements from here." I nodded toward the back of the room, and the massive screens, meant for wedding photos, flickered to life. Their text messages, magnified for all to see, spilled across the display. "She's perfect for our plan," Ethan had written. "Hotel manager, big savings, trusts you completely." Rachel's reply: "She spent her life taking care of me. This'll be too easy." The crowd's murmurs turned to shouts. I felt a cold satisfaction settle over me, drowning out the pain, as Ethan's face drained of color. Then a woman stood from the front row, Catherine, his legal wife, her calm intensity a mirror to my own. She walked toward the altar, her heels clicking like a countdown. "Surprised to see your wife here, darling?" she said, her voice slicing through the chaos. Ethan stumbled back, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Rachel's smug mask cracked, her hands clutching her stomach as if the baby she claimed to carry could shield her now. I watched it all unfold, the police stepping forward, disguised as waiters, the handcuffs clicking shut, and felt a strange peace. They'd wanted a wedding to remember. I'd given them one. Let me take you back to who I am, because you need to understand what this moment cost me. My name is Grace Harper, and I'm 45 years old. For 2 decades, I've run the Haven Hotel, one of Boston's finest. I started at the front desk, a grieving 25-year-old with a teenage sister to raise after our parents died in a car crash. I clawed my way up, turning a crumbling building into a 5-star masterpiece. It's not just a job, it's my identity, my sanctuary. Every chandelier, every flower arrangement, every smile from my staff carries a piece of me. Rachel was the other half of my life. I was her mother, her sister, her best friend, all rolled into one. I gave up everything, romance, dreams, freedom, to make sure she had a future. The hotel was our home. She grew up in my office, charming guests, learning the ropes. I thought we'd built something unbreakable. I was wrong. 3 months ago, Ethan Thompson walked into my lobby, and everything changed. He wasn't like the usual rich guests, distracted by their phones or their egos. He noticed things. The vintage molding I'd fought to preserve, the lighting I'd spent months perfecting. "Your attention to detail is extraordinary," he said at check-in, his green eyes locking onto mine. "I've stayed in hotels all over the world, but this one's different." I brushed it off as flattery, but his words stuck with me. Over 3 nights he drew me out, asking about my career, my goals, my life. When he left, he slipped me a handwritten note. "Dinner? I'd love to learn more." I stared at it for hours, my hands shaking, until Rachel burst into my office. "You have to call him," she said, her voice bright with an excitement I hadn't seen in years. "When's the last time someone cared about you, Grace? Not just the hotel?" She was right. I'd spent my life building walls, telling my staff the hotel was my husband, Rachel my child. Ethan tore those walls down. Our first dinner stretched into hours. Him talking about investment banking with the same passion I felt for hospitality, me opening up about my parents' death, him sharing his own losses. It felt natural, inevitable. 2 months later, He proposed at a harbor restaurant, the ring perfect, his words a promise. Let me be part of your world, Grace. Let's build something even greater together. Rachel cried when I told her, hugging me so tight I could feel her heartbeat. Someone deserving of you, she whispered. I believed her. Wedding plans moved fast. Ethan wanted a lavish event. You deserve to be the center of attention for once, he insisted. I worried about the cost, but he waved it off. You save for our future. I'll cover the wedding. We're partners now. Rachel threw herself into it. Guest lists, flowers, vendors, handling it all so I could focus on the hotel. You've taken care of everyone else, she said. Let me do this for you. I was touched, blind to the signs I should have seen. Her hushed calls, Ethan's vague excuses, the way they'd glance at each other when they thought I wasn't looking. Then, the night before the wedding, it all fell apart. Ethan rushed out of my office. Urgent client meeting, he said, leaving his phone behind. It buzzed on my desk, a preview flashing. My darling, I can't wait until tomorrow. She won't know what hit her. From Rachel. My stomach dropped, a cold wave crashing over me, like the time I'd fallen into the harbor as a kid and couldn't find the surface. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling, the words searing into my brain. Rachel, my Rachel, the girl I'd raised, the sister I'd given everything for, calling him my darling? I unlocked it. No password, no caution, as if he never thought I'd look. Arrogance or stupidity, I couldn't tell. What I found was a nightmare. Months of messages, plotting every step, a web of lies so thick it choked the air out of my lungs. Ethan wasn't a banker. He was a con man, drowning in debt, his custom suits bought on maxed-out credit cards. Rachel had fed him everything. My morning coffee order, my savings account totals, the blind trust I'd placed in her since she was 15 and sobbing in my arms after Mom and Dad's crash. Their plan unfolded in cold, calculated texts. Stage a dramatic reveal at the wedding, humiliate me in front of everyone, drain my accounts, and vanish into some fantasy life built on my ruins. There were even messages from a woman named Catherine, his wife, demanding unpaid child support, ranting about his gambling debts, threatening to expose him. My world tilted, the bridal gown hanging in the corner a cruel joke, its lace mocking every dream I'd let myself believe. I sank into my chair, the leather creaking under me. My office suddenly too small, too dark. The clock on the wall ticked past midnight, each second a hammer against my skull. 20 years of late nights, missed dates, sacrificed chances, all for Rachel. I'd turned down men, ignored flirtations, told my staff the hotel was my husband, Rachel my child. And now this. My chest burned, a mix of rage and grief so raw I could taste it, bitter and metallic. But I didn't cry. Not yet. I scrolled further, my fingers moving on autopilot, uncovering more filth. She's so naive, Rachel had written. Always has been. Thinks I'm still her little girl. Ethan's reply, perfect. We'll play her like a fiddle. Wedding's the big finale. The door creaked open, and I flinched, shoving the phone under a stack of papers. It was Mia, my assistant manager, her dark hair pulled back, her sharp eyes narrowing as she stepped inside. She was 28, fierce, the kind of person who'd fight for you before you even asked. She'd been with me for 6 years, ever since she'd walked in fresh out of college and demanded a job. You okay, Grace? She said, her voice soft but edged with worry. You look like you've seen a ghost. I forced a smile, my lips tight. Just pre-wedding jitters. Ethan forgot his phone, that's all. She didn't buy it. I could see it in the way her brow furrowed, the way she lingered by the desk. You've been off all week. Rachel's been weird too, sneaking around, whispering on calls. I don't trust her, or him. They're family, Mia, I snapped, sharper than I meant to. The word family felt like a lie now, but I clung to it, desperate to keep my world from collapsing. Ethan's busy and Rachel's helping. I'm not alone in this for once. Mia crossed her arms, unconvinced. If you say so. But I'm here if you need me. You know that. She hesitated, then added, I saw Ethan peel out of the parking lot like he was running from something. Didn't look like a client meeting to me. She left, the door clicking shut, and her words gnawed at me. I pulled the phone back out, my hands steadier now, fueled by a growing fire. I needed more. Proof, answers, something to hold on to. That's when I found Catherine's number buried in the threads. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the call button, then pressed it. It rang twice before a woman's voice answered, crisp and tired. Who is this? She said, suspicion thick in her tone. Grace Harper, I said, my voice shaking but firm. I'm supposed to marry Ethan Thompson tomorrow. I just found his phone. I know about you. Silence stretched, heavy and tense, then a low laugh. Oh, honey, she said. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. I'm Catherine, his wife. Legally, anyway. What's he done this time? My throat tightened, but I pushed through. He's been planning with my sister to scam me, take my money, humiliate me at the wedding. I've got their texts. That bastard, she hissed, her calm cracking. He's been pulling this for years, seducing women, spinning tales about his banking career, then disappearing with their cash. Your sisters knew, though. A team effort. I've got files, debts, lawsuits, child support he owes me for our son. Meet me, now. Where? I said, already grabbing my coat. Harbor Diner, 20 minutes, bring the phone. I hung up, my pulse racing, and slipped out of the hotel through the staff exit. The night air bit at my skin as I drove, the city lights blurring past me. The diner was a dingy hole in the wall, neon flickering over cracked booths. Catherine sat in the back, a woman in her early 40s with tired eyes and a stack of papers. She slid them across the table as I sat down. Bank statements, court orders, photos of Ethan with other women, all stamped with dates going back a decade. He's a leech, she said, her voice low and furious. Gambling debts, fake investments, you name it. I've been tracking him, waiting for the right moment. Your sister's his ace this time, makes him look legit. What's your plan? I don't know yet, I admitted, my mind spinning. I just found out. They're using my savings, 20 years of work, for this wedding. Then they'll run. Then we stop them, she said, leaning forward. I've got a lawyer who'd love this. You? Mine's Sarah, I said. She's good. But I need more than legal stuff. I need them to pay. Publicly. Her eyes gleamed. I like you, Grace. Let's give 'em hell. I drove back to the hotel, Catherine's words echoing in my head. The lobby was quiet, the night shift humming along, when I spotted Tony, my head of security, a burly guy in his 50s who'd been with me since day one. He was family, had bounced Rachel on his knee when she was little. I waved him into my office, shutting the door. Tony, I said, my voice low, I need you. Ethan and Rachel, they're scamming me. Tomorrow's a setup. His jaw tightened, his fists clenching. That little punk? And Rachel? After all you've done? What do you want, boss? Security on every exit, I said. Cameras rolling, discreet. I'm calling Liam Carter, too. He owes me. The cop? Tony grinned, a rare sight. Good, I'll handle it. They won't know what hit him. I dialed Liam next, my old friend from the precinct, a gruff detective with a soft spot for my hotel's coffee. He picked up on the first ring. Grace, it's 1 a.m. What's wrong? Ethan and Rachel, I said, spilling it all, the text, the plan, Catherine. I need you tomorrow, undercover at the wedding. Damn, he muttered. That's fraud, conspiracy, the works. I'll bring my team, waiters, ushers, whatever you need. You sure you're okay? No, I said, my voice cracking for the first time, but I will be. Hang in there, he said. We'll nail 'em. The calls blurred together. Sarah prepping legal papers, Catherine promising more dirt, Tony rallying the staff. Mia slipped back in at some point, her face pale. I overheard, she said. I'm so sorry, Grace. What can I do? Keep it quiet, I said. Help Tony. I need everyone ready. She nodded, fierce again. They're done. I'll make sure of it. By dawn, I'd built an army, Catherine, Liam, Tony, Mia, Sarah, all moving pieces in a plan I was still shaping. The sun rose over the lobby, gold light dancing across the marble, and I felt a strange calm. They thought they'd break me, but they'd forgotten who I was. I'd turned crises into triumphs for 20 years. This was just another mess to clean up. The day unfolded like a slow-motion train wreck. The makeup artist arrived, chattering about how lucky I was, brushing blush over the hollows of my cheeks. I stared at my reflection, flawless contouring, a bride's glow, and felt like a stranger. Rachel burst in at 10, arms full of flowers, her smile so bright it almost fooled me. You look stunning, she said, hugging me, her hands warm on my back. My big sister, finally getting her day. Her eyes met mine in the mirror, and for a split second, I wondered if I'd imagined it all. Then I remembered her words, too easy, and the mask slipped back into place. Thanks, I said, my voice tight, forcing a smile. Couldn't have done it without you. She laughed, adjusting my veil. It's unreal, isn't it? You deserve this, Grace, for everything you've done for me. I nodded, bile rising in my throat, and watched her flit around, texting Ethan about last-minute details. He messaged me, too. Can't wait to see you, love. Forever starts today, each one a fresh stab. The ballroom buzzed with arriving guests, my staff weaving through them, Liam's undercover team blending in. Catherine slipped in, taking a front row seat, her presence a secret weapon Ethan wouldn't see coming. Then the march began, and I walked the aisle, my heart pounding, their trap closing in. Rachel's confession hit like a thunderclap. I'm carrying his child. And Ethan's fake sorrow followed. I let them play it out, let the crowd gasp before I turned the tables. The screens flared, Catherine rose, Liam's team moved, and their world crumbled. Rachel's pleas, "Grace, please," fell on deaf ears as the cuffs snapped shut. Ethan's parents, shell-shocked, clutched evidence packets Tony handed them. I stood in the empty ballroom after, the flowers mocking me, but I wasn't broken. Not anymore. The ballroom fell silent, save for the sharp click of handcuffs snapping around Ethan's wrists. Rachel stood frozen, her maid of honor dress crumpled, tears streaking mascara down her face as two officers flanked her. "Grace, please," she cried, her voice breaking, reaching for me like she had when she was a kid and I'd bandage her scraped knees. But this wasn't a scrape. This was a knife she'd plunged into my back, twisted with every lie she'd fed me for months. I stepped back, my heels echoing on the marble, and met her gaze with ice in my veins. "You made your choice," I said, my words flat, final. 20 years, Rachel. I gave you everything, and you sold me out for him." Ethan thrashed against Liam's grip, his polished facade gone, replaced by a snarling mess. "This is a mistake," he shouted, his voice hoarse. "Grace, you've got it all wrong. I love you." The lie was so absurd I almost laughed, but the ache in my chest swallowed it. Liam yanked him toward the exit, his gruff voice cutting through. "Save it for the judge, Thompson. You're done." Catherine stood by the altar, her arms crossed, watching her husband unravel with a quiet fury that matched mine. She'd slipped me a nod earlier, a silent pact between two women he'd tried to destroy. "Goodbye, Ethan," she said, her tone venomous but calm. "Enjoy the cell. I'll enjoy the divorce papers." His parents, seated near the front, clutched the evidence packets Tony had handed them. Bank records, texts, proof of his scams. His father's face crumpled, his mother sobbing into her hands, their pride in their successful son shattered in minutes. The guests buzzed, a chaotic hum of shock and whispers, as my staff moved like a well-oiled machine. Mia guided people to the reception area, her voice steady despite the tremor I knew she felt. Tony loomed by the doors, his bulk a silent promise that no one would interfere. I stood alone in the center of it all, the white roses around me wilting in the heat of 300 stairs, my gown heavy with the weight of a day that wasn't meant to be. The string quartet's instruments sat abandoned, the wedding march cut short, a melody that would never finish. Rachel's sobs grew louder as the officers let her out. "What's going to happen to me?" she whimpered, her hands cuffed behind her, her eyes darting to me for salvation. I thought of her as a teenager, sprawled on my office couch with textbooks, laughing at the concierge's bad French accent. I thought of the nights I'd stayed up, stitching her prom dress, balancing hotel books, making sure she had a life I never did. And now this, her carrying Ethan's child, a final twist of the knife. "That depends on the DA," I said, turning away, my voice a wall she couldn't climb. The ballroom emptied, leaving me with the echoes of their betrayal. I sank into a chair, the fabric cool against my skin, and stared at the screens still flickering with their texts. She won't know what hit her. Oh, but I did, and I'd hit back harder. Mia slipped in, her face pale but fierce, and handed me a coffee. "You turned their game into a damn masterpiece," she said, her voice thick with pride. "I'm so proud of you, Grace." "It doesn't feel like a win," I admitted, the cup warm in my shaking hands. "Just survival." Catherine joined us, her heels clicking, and sat across from me. "We're free of him now," she said, her eyes softening for the first time. "That's what matters. You gave me the last piece I needed to bury him." I nodded, a flicker of something, relief maybe, stirring beneath the pain. "We'll get through this," I said, more to myself than her. "Together." The hours blurred, police statements, Sarah filing emergency petitions, guests trickling out with murmured apologies. Ethan's parents approached, their faces etched with shame. "We're so sorry," his father said, his voice breaking. "We had no idea. We'll cover the wedding costs." I cut him off with a raised hand. "Keep your money," I said. This was never about that. It was about trust. A month crawled by, each day a battle to reclaim what they'd tried to take. The courts moved fast. Ethan and Rachel, cornered by the evidence, cut deals with the prosecutors. Ethan faced charges in 3 states, his lies unraveling like a cheap suit. The judge awarded me $50,000 in damages, but his accounts were frozen, his assets a mirage. Collecting it would be a pipe dream. Catherine won retroactive child support for their son, a small victory in her war against him. Rachel dodged jail, her cooperation earning her probation and restitution she'd never pay off, not with a cafe job and a baby on the way. She tried reaching me, her messages piling up like ghosts on my phone. "I know I can't fix this," she wrote once, "but you're the only family I have. Please." I deleted them all, my finger hovering over the block button before pressing it. The sister I'd raised, the girl who'd danced in my office, who'd cried in my arms, was a fiction. She was pregnant, a cruel echo of her old dreams about me being an aunt, but I couldn't carry that burden anymore. I packed her room, clothes, books, the teddy bear I'd bought her at 16, into boxes and sent them to storage. 30 days, I told my lawyer, then donate it. She'd get the details through Sarah. I was done. The hotel became my refuge again, its routines a balm for the wounds they'd left. My staff rallied around me, a protective shield of loyalty I hadn't fully appreciated until now. Tony manned the doors, turning away nosy reporters. Mia fielded calls, her sharp tongue a weapon against intruders. Word of the wedding bust spread through Boston's hotel circles, and instead of ruin, it brought respect. "Takes guts to handle that with dignity," a regular guest, Mr. Daniels, told me one morning, his gray eyes kind. "You're a hell of a woman, Grace." I smiled, a real one, and thanked him, the warmth of his words sinking in. I poured myself into work, new projects, upgrades, a conference space where the honeymoon suite was meant to be. The bridal gown stayed in my closet, untouched, a silent witness to what I'd survived. I couldn't bring myself to ditch it, not yet. It wasn't about loss anymore. It was about strength, a reminder of the woman who'd walked out of that ballroom unbroken. Catherine and I kept in touch, trading updates on Ethan's legal spiral, her steady voice a lifeline on rough days. "We're better off knowing the truth," she said once, "no matter how much it stings." She was right. Ethan rotted in a cell somewhere, his charm useless behind bars, his debts piling higher than he could ever climb. Rachel faded into a life I couldn't picture, alone, broke, tethered to a child she'd conceived in deceit. I saw her signature on the settlement papers one morning, the loops of her handwriting a stranger's scrawl, and felt nothing. No anger, no grief, just a quiet resolve to let her go. The memories still haunted me late at night, Christmas lights, her laughter, the way she'd hugged me after the proposal. Were they ever real? I'd never know, and maybe that was the hardest part. But I'd burn that bridge, and the ashes would stay cold. Today, I stood in my office, the sun spilling gold across the lobby below, and watched my staff bustle. Tony joking with a bellhop, Mia checking a guest in, the concierge teaching a kid a French phrase. This was my family, my haven, built from scratch and stronger than ever. I'd spent 20 years caring for others, Rachel, the hotel, everyone but me. Now, it was my turn. I didn't know what came next, maybe a trip, a new love, a quiet night with a book, but it would be mine to choose. Ethan and Rachel had wanted a spectacle, a ruin. They got one, all right, just not the one they'd planned. Their lives were wreckage now, a fitting end to their greed, while I stood taller than I ever had. Life's funny that way. It hands you betrayals so deep you think you'll drown, then shows you you're stronger than the waves. I learned to trust my gut, to see the cracks before they split wide open, to build a family that doesn't need blood to hold it together. If you're reading this, or hearing it somewhere, think about your own bridges. Who's standing on them? Who's lighting the match? Drop me your stories below, or tell me what you'd have done in my shoes. I've got coffee brewing and a hotel to run, but I'll be listening.